Elon Musk shelters black homeless woman during storm and reveals millionaire secret. The San Francisco streets were crumbling under one of the fiercest storms in decades. Rain hit like bullets, thunder snapped the sky in jagged bolts, and wind howled through empty alleys, shaking signs loose and ripping trash cans apart. The city was drowning in chaos. Amid the flood and fury, a sleek black Tesla skidded to a sudden stop by a run-down building, its windows broken, walls scarred with graffiti, and a flickering neon sign barely hanging on. Elon Musk scrambled out, soaked to the skin, muscles trembling as the storm pushed harder, almost like it was daring him to stay. Inside the building, the air was thick with dust and something old. Forgotten memories, maybe. But right there, in the dimmest corner, sat a woman. Her hair, wild and tangled, framed a face that held a million storms of its own. Sharp eyes scanning Elon, wary but not afraid. Lucy. She was wrapped in tattered layers. "I'm not just a nobody," Lucy said, voice low but fierce, catching Elon's curious stare. "Once, I changed the game, invented a tech that could have rewritten the rules. But powerful people, they crushed it, took everything, left me here." Lightning split the night just as Elon stepped closer, the thunder in his ears matching the pounding in his chest. He wanted to understand, wanted to believe it. Something in Lucy's story twisted inside him, a challenge, a spark of admiration mixed with his own buried fears. Could she really be the ghost inventor no one dared to name? Lucy pulled out a small device, worn but glowing faintly, like it held secrets no one saw. "This tech, it can change everything again." If we let it out, Elon's hands shook, not just from the cold. His world was built on secrets and power. What if this woman's hidden past shattered his future? But sitting there, watching her fight through years of silence and pain, something shifted. She wasn't broken. She was a storm on her own. The rain battered harder. The building groaned, threatening to fall apart. Outside, distant sirens mingled with the roar of wind and crashing water. Inside, words spilled, unspooling layers of Lucy's life, the battles, the betrayals, the impossible choices. And then the heavier truth. The secret she carried wasn't just dangerous. It could wreck Elon's empire. A sharp silence fell. Rain rattled the windows like a wild beast clawing to get in. Elon stared at Lucy, heart pulled tight between doubt and hope. They were just two people hiding from the storm. They were standing on the edge of something much bigger. "Tell me," Elon said finally, voice rough, "what are you really afraid of?" Lucy's eyes didn't flinch. "That this truth will kill us both." Outside, the tempest eased, but an even darker storm brewed between them. One of truth, trust, and the fight ahead. Could they stand united? Or would the ghosts from their past tear them apart? The night closed around them. The question hung thick in the air. What price would they pay for sharing their buried secrets? And could they trust each other enough to face the storm coming next? Hey, Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The silence felt heavy, pressing down on them like the weight of the storm's aftermath. Elon searched Lucy's face, looking for the truth hidden in her eyes. Her resolve flickered, just for a moment, and he caught the glimpse of fear buried beneath her fierce exterior. Then a distant rumble echoed louder, a low growl that split the tension in the room. Was it an earthquake? The storm had already devastated the streets. What more could go wrong? He reached out instinctively, his fingers brushing Lucy's arm, grounding them both. Just then, the building shuddered violently, dust and debris raining down from the ceiling. They were trapped, caught in a wild storm of nature and fate. With a quick glance toward the door, Lucy inhaled sharply. "We need to get out!" She stood, panic sharp in her voice, when suddenly a nearby wall buckled. A blinding flash of light pierced through the dark, revealing a massive crack, like the building itself was ripping apart. And then silence. That eerie calmness hung for a heartbeat. All at once, a deafening explosion tore through the quiet. The wall caved in, sending bricks and dust swirling around them, choking the air. They stumbled backward, grappling for anything to steady themselves. In the chaos, Lucy and Elon fell against each other, her breath warm against his cold skin. But just as quickly, something astonishing happened. Amid the shock, the air crackled with energy, a low humming that seemed to rise from the ground like a living pulse. The rubble began to shift, revealing a hidden passageway beneath the floorboards. "What the hell is this?" Elon breathed, shock marking his features as the ground rumbled again. Lucy's eyes widened, recognition flashing before fear took over. "I thought it was gone! I thought they buried it!" She rushed forward, her hands trembling as she brushed aside debris, revealing a small glowing device embedded in the ground. Elon's heart dropped. "What is it?" Lucy turned to him, her face pale, mouth set tight. This is the tech I created. It was destroyed, or so I thought. They thought it was buried forever." Her voice almost broke under the weight of revelation. "Who?" Elon pressed, feeling the distance between him and his own world widen. "Who did this?" Just then the ground shook beneath them again, this time more violently. The device began to pulsate faster, sending small waves of energy rippling through the air. "Not now!" Lucy shouted, anxiety twisting her voice. "We have to go!" But before they could move, a figure appeared from the shadows of the passageway. A tall silhouette, clad in dark clothing, stepping calmly out of the chaos. Elon squinted through the dust, heart pounding, disbelief turning to dread. "Lucy," the figure called out, voice smooth yet chilling. "It's time to come home." The recognition hit Elon like a punch to the gut. The face was familiar. The same ruthless grin that had sliced through boardrooms and negotiations. A figure from Elon's past. A rival, a strategist who had always played the long game. "James," Elon whispered, realization dawning. You're behind this?" But Lucy's reaction was the real shock. She tensed, stepping back, eyes wide. "No, you can't be here. You weren't supposed to find me." Fear painted her features as the truth twisted in the air. This wasn't just a twist of fate. It was a reunion that would unravel everything. "Lucy, what is happening?" Elon demanded, his voice rising. "But the storm ha retorno, then drown todo esto." The room heaved, the storm shrieked outside, and suddenly everything shifted. Loyalties, truths, futures hanging by a thread ready to snap. Would they stand united against this new threat? Or would everything they built come crashing down harder than the storm outside? Elon's heart raced. What if Lucy's truth was a ticking bomb? "Tell me," he repeated, voice barely above a whisper, searching for the courage to ask the question he feared most. But before Lucy could speak, an ear-splitting crack echoed through the room. The walls shuddered. A tremor raced beneath their feet as the air changed, heavy and charged. Suddenly, the flickering neon sign outside burst into a flash of blinding light. The entire building vibrated with an unexpected pulse. Elon spun around, eyes wide. "What was that?" "Stay close!" Lucy shouted, urgency igniting her tone. Then came the roar. A deafening boom that seemed to shake the very fabric of reality. The ceiling above buckled and cracked, sending dust swirling like a storm of its own. And with one sickening thud, a heavy beam crashed down just feet from them. They both jumped back, hearts pounding, breaths quickened. The air was a mix of fear and adrenaline. Lucy's eyes were wild again. But it wasn't just fear. It was recognition. "He's here! He found me!" Elon's breath hitched. Who is here?" Before she could respond, the door to the building flung open, revealing a tall figure, silhouetted against the swirling storm outside. The man stepped inside, water dripping from his clothes, face obscured. "Lucy, I've been looking for you." Electric danger crackled in the air. The man's voice drew a line between them, one that felt impossible to cross. Elon's stomach dropped. He felt suddenly trapped, like a bee in a jar, sensing the danger but unable to escape. "Mark." Lucy's voice trembled, her past rushing back at her in waves. "You shouldn't be here." Elon's instinct screamed, bones aching, with a primal need to protect. "Who is he?" he demanded, moving instinctively in front of Lucy, feeling the warmth of her presence. "Someone dangerous," she replied sharply, panic weaving through her words. "He's part of my past, my mistakes." Mark stepped forward, dark eyes piercing, locking onto Elon like a predator sizing up its prey. "And you're making another mistake, Lucy. That tech you've been hiding? It's not just a breakthrough, it's a weapon. In the wrong hands, it could change everything." "What do you mean?" Elon asked, voice shaky, shadows swirling with doubt. "People have died for it," Mark said, voice low, echoing against the trembling walls. "Do you really think the people who took everything from her won't come back? They'll stop at nothing." A chill enveloped the room, a thick wave of dread. Lucy pressed her lips together, a silent battle flashing in her eyes. She looked between Elon and Mark, resolve mingling with fear. "Lucy, listen to me. Mark continued, urgency spilling out. If you activate it, it puts us all in danger. They'll come for you. They'll come for him. His gaze darted to Elon, pinning him with the weight of the truth. You don't know the risks involved. Elon felt the blood drain from his face, the implications wrapping around him like a noose. What's so dangerous about it? This tech is a game changer, Mark replied fiercely. Control it, and you control everything. But the moment it's out, it is no longer yours. The storm outside raged anew, roaring like a wounded beast, drowning out their whispers. The air felt electric, heavy with unsaid words, secrets spilling around them like water threatening to drown. In that moment, everything shifted. Lucy was no longer just a survivor. She was a chess piece in a dangerous game. Elon's chest tightened, heart pounding like the rain against the walls. The weight of their choices pressed down. Lucy, is it true? Her eyes burned with conflicting emotions, a swirling storm of loyalty and fear. I never wanted this. But Mark stepped closer, voice thick with urgency. Then we need to make a choice, now. An icy breeze swept through the room, as if the world itself was waiting to hear their answer. They were caught between danger and truth, with everything on the line. And as the rain hammered louder, each beat felt like a countdown to catastrophic change. The night was far from over. The real storm was yet to come. And trust felt like a flimsy raft in an ocean of uncertainty. Would they weather it together? Or would the truths they uncovered tear them apart? The air was thick with tension, charged with secrets, waiting to explode. Elon stared at Mark, heart racing. What do you know about this tech? The words hung heavy in the air, burdened with anxiety. Mark's gaze intensified, locking onto Elon's like he was weighing him in the darkest scale of truth. Everything. Lucy's not just some inventor. She's the key to a power they'll do anything to get. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. This tech isn't just revolutionary. It's a weapon, and it's tied to something much bigger than all of us. Lucy's expression shifted. Fear twisted her features, her guard dropping just as the storm outside crescendoed. Mark, stop, she warned, eyes darting between them. You don't know what you're talking about. Just let me explain. But just as she took a step forward, the ground trembled again, a violent jolt that sent chills spiraling down Elon's spine. What now? He gasped, eyes wide. The walls groaned ominously, dust swirling like a chaotic dance around them. Then, chaos. A blinding flash erupted from the newly revealed device, bathing the room in a vivid glow. It pulsed, thrumming with a life of its own, and suddenly, everything around them shifted. Walls flickered, darkness rippled, and the sounds of the storm outside faded into a haunting silence. Elon felt a searing pain shoot through his chest. He stumbled backward, hand clutching at a sudden ache as he watched a twisting visage form from the pulsing light. It glowed with blinding intensity, and words began to materialize in the air above it. Symbols he couldn't comprehend. Fear swept through him, tightening his throat. "Lucy!" he yelled, panic escalating as she backed away, her own fear radiating off her. like waves. "What is happening?" She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes hardened, facing Mark like a new resolve had ignited within her. "You shouldn't have come here," she said, voice trembling but fierce. "This isn't what you think." Mark's gaze flickered. A hint of uncertainty crossed his features. "What is that device, Lucy?" His voice cracked, and the urgency in his tone darkened. But before she could relay the truth, another blazing burst of energy erupted. The device flared, growing in size, spilling forth memories. Visions poured into the room, swirling like thunderclouds, and suddenly, it felt wrong. So wrong. Elon squinted, trying to focus. Flickers of faces emerged, memories intertwined in the chaos. A younger Lucy, eyes bright with promise. A boardroom filled with powerful figures, their harsh laughter echoing, leaving an imprint of betrayal. All at once, shadows darkened. Those who had taken so much from her, their faces twisted with greed and malice. But then, in a shocking twist, another figure emerged, one he hadn't expected. It was a woman, unwavering, with piercing blue eyes that shone brightly through the storm of memories. And as realization hit, a knife of betrayal plunged deep into Elon's gut. "Sarah?" he choked out, the name escaping like a ghost, clawing its way back to life. A face from his past, a hidden thread woven through everything. His former partner, who vanished without a word, leaving chaos in her wake. "It can't be," Lucy gasped, her trembling hands covering her mouth as the weight fell heavy. "You know her?" Elon's knees buckled as he formed the connection. "You betrayed me?" He turned to Sarah, fury coursing through him. But before she could react, a tremor rattled the building again. A sound resembling an approaching storm drowned out every thought. The room pulsated violently. "You don't understand," Sarah shouted above the chaos. "I'm here to protect you." But the truth hung like a guillotine ready to drop. Who was really protecting whom? Before doubt could settle, the device surged with energy, and the visions exploded outward, threatening to unravel everything they knew. Would they stand united against this new twist of fate? Or would the tangled threads of truth tear them apart for good? The storm outside howled anew, and with it, a chilling question echoed, leaving them breathless. Who were they really fighting against? The night wrapped around them, thick with tension and unspoken fears. Elon's heart raced, caught in the pull of Lucy's unwavering gaze. What truth? He pushed gently, wanting to understand, to help, and then it happened. As if summoned by the emotional tempest, the old building shivered violently, a deep groan echoing through the walls. Lucy's eyes widened, a flash of fear flickering across her face. The dilapidated structure leaned, then buckled. Pieces of the ceiling crumbled, showering dust and debris like confetti from a horrific celebration. Elon instinctively moved to shield her. His imposing frame positioned protectively in front of her, but before he could register the sound, a blinding flash lit the room. There, at the far end, a figure emerged through the chaos. A man, familiar yet foreign, stood framed in the shattered doorway. Rain dripped from the brim of his cap, but it was his eyes, cold, calculating, that sent a chill through Elon's spine. "Elon," he called, voice smooth as silk, but laced with menace. "You always did have a knack for finding lost." The very same man who had steered Elon into the tech world, but later turned against him. The man who took pride in crushing rivals. "Randall, what are you doing here?" Elon asked, disbelief washing over him. Tension coiled in the air, thick and suffocating. He stepped forward, eyes darting between Lucy and Elon. "She's been waiting, you know. Waiting for someone to unlock her true potential. But you," he gestured dismissively, "you're too blinded by your ego to see it." Lucy's face shifted from confusion to realization. You know him?" she whispered, a tremor in her voice. Randall smiled, sharp and predatory. "Of course I do. She had something revolutionary, something powerful, and I intended to own it completely. But it seems she's found another pawn." "Elon, listen!" Lucy started, but Randall cut her off, stepping closer, invading the space between them. "She's not what you think," he said, his tone turning sinister. "She's tied to a past that could unravel everything you've built. Do you really think she's here by coincidence? Do you think any of this is a chance encounter?" Elon felt the ground shift beneath him. He turned to Lucy, searching her eyes for something. Truth, innocence, regret. But all he saw was the storm brewing again, a tempest made up of choices and shadows. "Tell me that's not true?" Elon's voice shook, desperation clawing at his insides. Lucy didn't respond immediately. Her gaze faltered, and doubt seeped into the atmosphere. "I was afraid. Afraid of what they'd do if I revealed this tech. I thought I could hide. I thought it was safer." Randall chuckled softly, a sound that sent shivers down Elon's spine. "Hide? You think hiding will save you? They've always known where you are, Lucy. They've been watching." The room felt too small, the walls closing in. The truth, so terrifying, hung over them like a dark cloud. Suddenly, outside, a siren pierced through the night, a reminder of the chaos still raging beyond their fragile sanctuary. Elon's mind raced. This was no ordinary night. This was a reckoning, a collision of past and present. He looked back at Lucy, searching for the woman behind the myths, the reality hiding beneath the layers of pain. If what he says is true, we need to act now. We can't let them control us. The building shuddered again, dust falling like snow. A sharp crack echoed, and the lights flickered, plunging them into semi-darkness. The storm outside reached a crescendo, but the real tempest was inside, battling for their souls. "What will you choose?" Randall asked, voice a whisper that seemed to slice through the thunder. "Join me, or be swept away?" A silence hung between them, heavy and pregnant with fear. The stakes had shifted. Trust turned into treachery. Elon and Lucy faced a future, now uncertain, where loyalties might crumble like the walls around them. And in that laden moment, everything changed. The path ahead blurred, shrouded by the question looming over them. In a world filled with hidden agendas, could they fight together against the storm? Or would betrayal tear them apart? The night pressed down. Heavy and thick, Elon's heart raced, the air electric with that pulse of unspoken words. Lucy's gaze challenged him, each second stretching out like the storm above. The chaos outside faded, becoming a mere whisper against the tension inside. But just as Elon prepared to speak, a tremor shook the building. The walls creaked, and the flickering neon signs sputtered, casting dancing shadows across their faces. Then, with a gut-wrenching crash, the roof caved in, debris tumbling down like a violent storm of its own. Elon dove tuerdo Lucy, pulling her claws as el peso del mundo se atestaba alrededor. Viento solea en el nubaco chocante. El sonido del caos fue trueno, madera explotando, metal envelando, Elon se colga con Filier su alrededor. Se le molestaba entre las pantallas contando sus vetos, el pánico exclamaba para escaparla. Liu, pero Elon sentía que se encara por debajo del brazo. Entonces, through the haze of dust, extraña luz fliqueró. Se seco gris gres ilumina la cedebría. A llanto despertar Lucy's manos. No, no puede ser. Elon contorció el torpeci del caos. Su confusión metía traseria en su mente. Posó a peces de recollecer. Ojos ve la perspectiva iluminante. And then he saw it. The small device that Lucy had shown him. Now pulsating wildly amidst the rubble. Its surface cracked, but vividly sparking. Lucy's face drained of color. It shouldn't be here. It can't be activated. What is it? Elon barked, desperation clawing at him now. But just then, the device jolted, sending a surge of energy across the room. Threads of light danced through the air, wrapping around Lucy like a consuming wave. She gasped, and Elon felt his insides twist painfully. He fought to pull away, but the energy seemed to tether them both. And then, in that moment, everything changed. The space flickered, collapsing into itself. For a heartbeat, reality distorted. Elon screamed, but the sound faded in the shimmer. The air grew hotter. Light enveloped them both, blinding and brilliant. When the glow receded, the chaos of the storm had vanished. They stood on an unfamiliar rooftop, bathed in the soft glow of dawn. Below them, a sprawling city pulsed with life. But it wasn't San Francisco. This place was different. Shadows of towering structures loomed, their outlines jagged and strange. What just happened? Elon asked, confusion racing through him. Where are we? Lucy's expression was a storm of emotions, a whirlwind of fear, and something darker. It's the tech. She whispered, voice trembling. It opened a door. We aren't just hiding from the storm. We crossed into another dimension. And it's all connected to what I created. Elon's world tilted, shocks reverberating through every part of him. What do you mean? You can't mean something. Yes, Lucy interjected, eyes blazing. This tech isn't just a game changer. It rips through reality itself, and that means it can destroy everything, including us. The weight of her words hung thick in the air. They stood on the edge of an unimaginable abyss. The city below, pulsing with untold dangers and dark secrets. The storm they'd fled had transformed into something far graver, unleashing a truth that could unravel everything they believed. Elon felt his heart race again, but now it wasn't just fear. It was the wildfire of ambition igniting within him. Then let's find out how to use it, he said, determination flooding his tone. But Lucy shook her head, panic surging in her eyes. No, you don't understand. If we don't control it, it could destroy what's left. As the city beneath them shuddered, a chilling realization settled in. Everything he thought he wanted, everything he believed about Lucy was spiraling into chaos. They were no longer just two souls hiding from a storm. They were pioneers on the brink of an unknown universe, teetering on the edge of disaster. "Can we really face this together?" he asked, the question hanging between them like an unspoken promise. Lucy turned to him, her face a mask of uncertainty, shadows flickering in her eyes. "We're already too deep, but if this power falls into the wrong hands..." A cold breeze swept across the roof, whispering of secrets yet to be revealed, and the question loomed larger than ever. Who could they trust when the very fabric of reality was at stake? Elon felt the weight of Lucy's gaze, like a storm inside his chest. "What truth?" he asked, voice low, a rush of adrenaline thrumming in his veins. Lucy opened her mouth, too. Scanning the room, they landed on Elon and Lucy, shock mixing with something darker. "Get in," one of them yelled, pushing past debris, water dripping from their clothes. "They're coming." Lucy's voice trembled now. "What do you mean?" "Black suits," another breathlessly said, wide-eyed. "They're hunting us. You've got to come with us now." Elon's mind spun, confusion threatening to swallow him whole. "Hunting who?" "Everyone who knows. Everyone who has the tech." Their panicked whispers tumbled out in a rush, filled with desperation. Elon realized what was at stake. Lucy wasn't just the homeless woman. She was a cornerstone in a hidden network, one he never saw coming. These people weren't strangers. They were united by a truth that could topple empires. The tension in the room felt like a thick fog, stifling all breaths. Lucy's hands trembled as she clutched her device, a flicker of anger in her eyes. "You brought them here, didn't you?" she shot at the newcomer. "No, we didn't know," the first figure protested, their voice rising, nostrils flaring. "We thought we lost them, but they always come back." "What did you do?" Elon stepped forward, the gravity of the situation crashing into him. This wasn't just about him anymore. Before they could respond, a loud thud reverberated outside, like a beast hammering on their prison walls. Shadows shifted, and rain splattered against the cracked windows like frantic fingers trying to break in. An eerie silence enveloped the group as everyone exchanged knowing glances, fear clawing at their throats. Then, through the chaos, a voice floated in, sharp and distinct. "Elon, you've betrayed us!" Elon's heart stopped. It was a voice he recognized, but never thought he'd hear again. There, standing in the doorway, drenched and imposing, was Mara, an old business partner he thought he had left behind. "You should have stayed away from this woman. She's the key." Lucy's eyes widened in recognition, and something shifted in the air. The truth everyone was holding in suddenly thrummed between them like the electric charge before a storm. "T?" Elon repeated, bewildered. "What do you mean?" Mara stepped inside, her silhouette fierce and unyielding. "Lucy's tech can end everything we've built. That's why we're here. You think it's a storm outside? The real tempest is within these walls." The words hit like a sudden gust of wind, almost knocking the breath out of Elon. It twisted his stomach, forcing him to confront the reality of trust fractured as he realized he was entwined in a much more intricate web than he first thought. Lucy straightened, her eyes fierce. "You're not the only one who can disrupt systems, Mata. I know that power, and I'm ready to take it back." Before anyone could process the upheaval, the shadowy figures outside surged forward. Heavy footsteps, menacing and relentless, echoed closer, drowning out the raging storm. Elon's chest tightened again. The stakes just shot through the roof. "What do we do?" he asked, feeling panic rise. But as they all turned to face the encroaching threat, a thought flickered through him. Had he just opened a door to something darker than he ever imagined? Lucy's determined glare met his, and for one breathless moment, hope sparked. But in the next breath, dread flooded back in. What terrible truth lay ahead? And at what price would they pay if they fought back? The room, charged with uncertainty, felt like a heartbeat echoing in the dark. Elon felt the weight of Lucy's gaze, like a storm inside his chest. "What truth?" he asked, voice low, a rush of adrenaline thrumming in his veins. Lucy opened her mouth to speak, but just then, a deafening crash echoed, shaking the building. The entry door flew open, and a group of shadowy figures stumbled in, drenched and frantic, eyes wide with fear. Scanning the room, they landed on Elon and Lucy, shock mixing with something darker. "Get in!" one of them yelled, pushing past debris, water dripping from their clothes. "They're coming!" Lucy's voice trembled now. "What do you mean?" "Black suits," another breathlessly said, wide-eyed. "They're hunting us. You've got to come with us, now!" Elon's mind spun, confusion threatening to swallow him whole. Hunting who? Everyone who knows, everyone who has the tech. Their panicked whispers tumbled out in a rush, filled with desperation. Elon realized what was at stake. Lucy wasn't just a homeless woman. She was a cornerstone in a hidden network, one he never saw coming. These people weren't strangers. They were united by a truth that could topple empires. The tension in the room felt like a thick fog, stifling all breaths. Lucy's hands trembled as she clutched her device, a flicker of anger in her eyes. "You brought them here, didn't you?" she shot at the newcomer. "No, we didn't know," the first figure protested, their voice rising, nostrils flaring. "We thought we lost them, but they always come back." "What did you do?" Elon stepped forward, the gravity of the situation crashing into him. This wasn't just about him anymore. Before they could respond, a loud thud reverberated outside. Like a beast hammering on their prison walls, shadows shifted, and rain splattered against the cracked windows like frantic fingers trying to break in. An eerie silence enveloped the group as everyone exchanged knowing glances, fear clawing at their throats. Then, through the chaos, a voice floated in, sharp and distinct. "Elon, you've betrayed us!" Elon's heart stopped. It was a voice he recognized, but never thought he'd hear again. There, standing in the doorway, drenched and imposing, was Mara, an old business partner he thought he had left behind. "You should have stayed away from this woman. She's the key." Lucy's eyes widened in recognition, and something shifted in the air. The truth everyone was holding in suddenly thrummed between them, like the electric charge before a storm. "Key? Elon repeated, bewildered. What do you mean? Mara fetta in sal. Her silhouette fierza y ambientada. Lucy Stick puede acabar todo lo que construye. The stakes just shot through the roof. What do we do? He asked, feeling panic rise. But as they all turned to face the encroaching threat, Mara's demeanor shifted. A delicate tension line snapping taut. Wait, she said with sudden realization, her eyes darting between Lucy and Elon. There's something. The room dimmed, shadows creeping like cold fingers as the figures outside encroached. Then, brighter than the storm itself, the tech Lucy held began to pulse, illuminating their space in a brilliant glow that filled the cracks of their reality. What's happening? Elon shouted. But then the device surged, erupting with energy that flooded the room. It was as if a thunderstorm had condensed into a single pulse of light. And then, silence. Everything froze. The shadows halted. The rain stilled. It felt as if time itself had decided to hold its breath. They stood, eyes wide, trapped between the realization of power and fear of what it could unleash. Then, in a blinding flash, everything changed. The air thickened, twisted, and reality warped. A violent rift tore through the very fabric of their surroundings, and Elon felt himself being pulled, weightless amidst the chaos. "Lucy!" he screamed, reaching for her, their fingers almost touching as she was drawn away. Then, darkness. A moment later, Elon gasped, drawing in a breath that felt like the first ever inhaled. He was in a vast, empty void, a space that stretched endlessly in every direction. Lucy was gone. The faces of Mara and the shadowy figures faded into the bright chaos behind him, their voices lost to the silence. In this strange expanse, time felt uncertain. Just beyond the swirling mist, he saw a figure, drenched with shadows but unmistakably familiar. "Sarah?" he breathed, disbelief coiling around his heart. She stepped forward, her expression a blend of regret and fierce determination. "Elon, it's time you learned the truth." The ground shifted beneath them, reality reshaping once more. Elon's mind raced, trying to untangle the chaos. The stakes grew higher. Who was truthfully the key? And what if everything he thought he understood about Lucy and himself was built on lies? Sarah's eyes locked on his, and he felt the weight of an unimaginable secret about to unfold. One that could change everything they had built and fought for. "Do you really want to know what she's hiding?" Sarah asked, her voice cold. And in that moment, the ground quaked with the weight of looming truths. Questions spiraled into the unknown, and Elon was left standing on a precipice, torn between love, betrayal, and the haunting echoes of choices yet to be made. Elon felt the weight of Lucy's gaze, like a storm inside his chest. "What truth?" he asked, voice low, a rush of adrenaline thrumming in his veins. Lucy opened her mouth to speak, but just then, a deafening crash echoed, shaking the building. The entry door flew open, and a group of shadowy figures stumbled in, drenched and frantic, eyes wide with fear. Scanning the room, they landed on Elon and Lucy, shock mixing with something darker. "Get in!" one of them yelled, pushing past debris, water dripping from their clothes. "They're coming!" Lucy's voice trembled now. "What do you mean?" Black suits, Another breathlessly said, wide-eyed, "They're hunting us! You've got to come with us, now!" Elon's mind spun, confusion threatening to swallow him whole. Hunting who? Everyone who knows, everyone who has the tech. Their panicked whispers tumbled out in a rush, filled with desperation. Elon realized what was at stake. Lucy wasn't just a homeless woman. She was a cornerstone in a hidden network, one he never saw coming. These people weren't strangers. They were united by a truth that could topple empires. The tension in the room felt like a thick fog, stifling all breaths. Lucy's hands trémulas y clacha su device, e fliquero sangre en sus ojos. «You trajístelos aquí», dijo el nuevo. «Me llevó fin de la cabalgadura». «No, we didn't know», the premier figure protested, their voice rising, nostrils flaring. «We thought we lost them, but they always come back». «What did you do?» Elon stepped forward, the gravity of the situation crashing into him. This wasn't just about him anymore. Before they could respond, a loud thud reverberated outside. Like a beast hammering on their prison walls, shadows shifted and rain splattered against the cracked windows, like frantic fingers trying to break in. An eerie silence enveloped the group as everyone exchanged knowing glances, fear clawing at their throats. Then, through the chaos, a voice floated in, sharp and distinct. "Elon, you've betrayed us!" Elon's heart stopped. It was a voice he recognized, but never thought he'd hear again. There, standing in the doorway, drenched and imposing, was Mara, an old business partner he thought he had left behind. "You should have stayed away from this woman. She's the key." Lucy's eyes widened in recognition, and something shifted in the air. The truth everyone was holding in suddenly thrummed between them like the electric charge before a storm. "Key?" Elon repeated, bewildered. "What do you mean?" Mara stepped inside, her silhouette fierce and unyielding. "Lucy's tech can end everything we've built. That's why we're here. You think it's a storm outside? The real tempest is within these walls." The words hit like a sudden gust of wind, almost knocking the breath out of Elon. It twisted his stomach, forcing him to confront the reality of trust fractured as he realized he was entwined in a much more intricate web than he first thought. Lucy straightened, her eyes fierce. "You're not the only one who can disrupt systems, Mara. I know that power, and I'm ready to take it back." Before anyone could process the upheaval, the shadowy figures outside surged forward. Heavy footsteps, menacing and relentless, echoed closer, drowning out the raging storm. Elon felt his chest tighten again. The stakes just shot through the roof. "What do we do?" he asked, feeling panic rise. But as they all turned to face the encroaching threat, Mara's demeanor shifted, a delicate tension line snapping taut. "Wait," she said with sudden realization, her eyes darting between Lucy and Elon. "There's something—" The room dimmed, shadows creeping like cold fingers as the figures outside encroached. Then, brighter than the storm itself, the tech Lucy held began to pulse, illuminating their space in a brilliant glow that filled the cracks of their reality. In that instant, the device emitted a blaring frequency, piercing the air like an alarm bell. It momentarily froze the moment, making everyone wince at the sudden cacophony. The figures outside hesitated, uncertainty flickering through them, but then returned with renewed fervor, ready to break inside. "Lucy, what's happening?" Elon shouted over the noise, fear clawing at his throat. I don't know. It's responding to them," she yelled, her hands trembling, as she braced herself against the wild energy of the device. Suddenly, it flared bright, and the room quaked. The walls around them warped, bending like reflections in a shattered mirror. Light enveloped them, and Elon felt his heart leap into his throat. Was it going to rip apart? And then it did. They were tossed through a void, spiraling into an abyss until everything stopped. Elon felt a jolt, then nothing. Moments passed before he surfaced, gasping for air. His hands pressed against metal. Raw panic gripped him as he pushed up and opened his eyes. The world was different now, hazy, blurred. He was standing in a vast control room, filled with screens showing chaos. Faceless figures mingled in shadows, screens lighting up with data and images he couldn't comprehend. It was a military base, the buzz of urgency buzzing around him. "What the hell is this?" he shouted, still in shock. He heard her name again, Lucy, but this time it wasn't from a person. It emanated from the screens, and it was clear. "Lucy, we need you back. The project is unstable. We can't control it without the key," a voice shouted through static, heavy with urgency. Elon's heart raced. This was not just chaos. This was military-grade security scrambling for control. Fighting against the realization, clawing at his mind, he whipped around, searching for Lucy. But she wasn't beside him. Then, across the room, he spotted her, standing beside someone in a crisp uniform. Her expression sharp, commanding. "Lucy!" he shouted, stepping toward her. But just as he did, the screens flickered and her face turned cold. "You don't understand, Elon," she said, her voice echoing with authority. "What? You're with them?" he yelled, disbelief slicing through him as he stumbled backward. She met his gaze, and in that moment, everything shifted, reality crumbling apart beneath him. "It isn't what you think. I was never hiding. I was chosen for this." Elon's stomach dropped. Chosen? For what? But before she could answer, alarms sounded. The lights flickered, and the ground shook again, a warning sign echoing through the facility. "Everything you thought you knew is about to change," the message reverberated. And then a figure stepped into the light, shadowed but unmistakable. "Welcome back," it said, his voice chillingly familiar. "You've been missed, Lucy." It was Mark, the traitor. Elon's world spiraled into chaos. The truth was shattering, revealing a nature of power, choices, and allies he never suspected. The very ground beneath them was now a battlefield, and nothing would be the same again. With dread pooling in his chest, Elon faced reality. Was Lucy the key to their salvation or their doom? Elon felt his pulse quicken as he faced Lucy, their eyes locking in a silent showdown between trust and betrayal. "What do you mean you were chosen?" he implored, a rush of emotions flooding through him. Lucy stood firm, the glow from the tech illuminating her face with an otherworldly shimmer. "I didn't just hide, Elon. I worked on something monumental, something that could change everything. But they needed me. Nieren yo por qué. Elon prestó más fieryenga tranquilándose en él. Ellos quieren destruir el potencial de la tecnología, pero no la pueden controlar. Es un excelente poder. And you both will play your parts, willingly or not. We're not your puppets, Elon shouted, stepping protectively in front of Lucy. But inside, doubt twisted. What if this tech was more than they could handle? The alarms blared, sounding a grim warning as shadowy figures approached, dark silhouettes creasing the fog of confusion. "Time's up!" Mara shouted, urgency spilling from her lips. The figures blurred together, advancing like an impending storm. "What do we do?" Elon gasped. "Activate it! We need to harness the energy before they take it from us!" Lucy exclaimed, her tone unwavering. His heart raced as he rushed to grab her device. With shaky hands, he pressed the buttons, feeling the rush of power surge around them, intertwining with the dangers that loomed. The room pulsed like a living thing, swallowing the shadows whole as light burst forth, blinding everyone momentarily. "What have you done?" Mark thundered, eyes wide in disbelief. "I am taking a stand," Lucy screamed, intertwining their fates. As the light enveloped them, the ground shook violently. Electric energy flickered through the air, enveloping the chaos and disarming the threats. The walls rippled, blurring the line between reality and uncertainty. Then suddenly, nothing. The light snapped away, leaving silence, a taut string pulled to its limit. Elon blinked. He was outside, standing beneath a brilliant sky, painted with the colors of dawn. The storm inside him finally quieted. Lucy was beside him, breathing hard, disbelief coating her features. "We did it," she exhaled, tears sparkling in her eyes. "For now," he murmured, surveying the empty space around them. They were alone, but the shadows loomed in the form of unanswered questions. "But what comes next?" She hesitated, eyes distant. "We face the consequences. They won't stop. Not until they have the tech." An uneasy silence lingered. They had won this battle, but the war stretched on, vast and unyielding. Their paths lay tangled in a web of power, truth, and shadows. "Whatever comes, we do it together," Elon pledged, reaching for her hand. Lucy nodded, determination lighting her features. They turned, ready to walk forward side by side, but a chill passed through him, a reminder that darkness lingered just beyond their new dawn. As they stepped into an uncertain future, their resolve strengthened. But something inside Elena whispered that this was just the beginning. The shadows weren't far away, and as they faded into the light, he couldn't shake off the nagging suspicion that the true test was yet to come. If you enjoyed this wild ride, don't even think about just lurking in the shadows. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the exclusive stories heading your way. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now. Let's feed the algorithm and keep the story alive. I want to hear from you, so flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What did you think? What does it all mean? And don't wait even a second longer to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's keep the adventure rolling.